Thanks joining us on this second day of Redefine Possible Edmonton Hackathon. Let me introduce myself again. I'm Vania Hanatiuk, chapter lead of GDG Cloud Edmonton, and we are excited today of receiving Sherry Yang. Before starting, just one moment. We're going to do some housekeeping with a code of conduct. We are committed to providing a friendly, safe, and welcoming environment for all, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, ability, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and religion or lack thereof. Participate in an authentic and active way. In doing so, you contribute to the health and longevity of this community. Exercise consideration and respect in your speech and actions. Attend collaboration before a conflict. Refrain from demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior and speech. Be mindful of your fellow participants. Let me introduce again GDG Cloud Edmonton. We are an official chapter of Google Worldwide Network of Cloud enthusiasts, developers, data scientists, and engineers. As you can see in the picture, you can see my team members, starting with Rohan, who is the VP, NDD Obingwane, who is a Woman Techmaker Ambassador and co-organizer, and the Vipriya Rahu, who is also a Woman Techmaker Ambassador and co-organizer. One moment. We are going to start with a 3D acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that we are based on traditional lands referred to as a 3D6 territory and a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands since time immemorial. Now it's time for the best part of the evening. We are with our first workshop with Sherry Yang, Beyond Frameworks, Building Fulfilling Careers in Tech. Sherry Yang is a seasoned engineering manager with over a decade of experience in software solutions, web technologies, and career growth in tech. She has established herself as an expert in engineering management, project engagement, and digital skills advocacy. Sherry is also a Women Makers Ambassador with Google and an organizer for Google Developers Group in Calgary, demonstrating her deep commitment to fostering diversity and inclusion within the tech community. Furthermore, she is a judge for the International Women's Day Edmonton Redefine Possible Hackathon. When not immersed in industry-related endeavors, Sherry enjoys connecting with nature, exploring diverse cuisines, and indulging in quiet moments with puzzles and coffee. Last but not least, I consider Sherry an inspiring role model and a dear friend. Please give a warm welcome to my friend Sherry Yang. Bravo! I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, I wish I can own all of that. I'm going to share my screen here for my talks, and sometimes I do feel a little bit overwhelmed with a bio and introduction because oftentimes we overlook our accomplishment. It seems like a long time, and it's humbling. It's an humbling experience when someone really admires you and actually like talks about you as a role model. Thank you so much, Benya.
Now
Um,
you, sorry.
yes. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Sherry Yang. Today, I will be talking about Beyond Frameworks to focus on building fulfilling career in tech. This is a space that we don't talk enough about. And today I really want to focus like uh, shifting your attention into more of a scene of focusing in yourself. Obviously, everyone this week will be busy with your hackathon, but at the same time, I wanted to know a little bit more about you as well. Yeah, so this is a short version of the bio that Vanya shared, but essentially, I am everything that Vanya just mentioned. My career has been um, pretty up and down in terms of like discovering different role, different types of work, different industry. Mainly because I wanted to absorb more in my experience as a developer, and at the same time, I was also really interested in challenging problems. I work in applied research for over 3 years, and at the time, I was picking up new languages and frameworks and different research technology at the time to move forward and help startups and new ideas to come to life. Um, and like I said, this talk is not about me; it's more about you. I do want to know, um, all of you in the audience, how many of you are just getting into the industry? Perhaps like raise your hand or give me an emoji in the chat. Sweet. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. We have a couple of people who's just getting into the industry. Nice. Or maybe not a couple, a few of you. Amazing. Now, how many of you are in the mid-level and have a few years under your belt? Awesome. Do we have anyone who are in leadership? Awesome. So the reason why I'm asking is because I want to know. Awesome. I want this talk to be for you, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. This is going to help you um, in a way that will help you grow your career. Doesn't matter where you are in your career. This um, the talk I'm about to give is going to help you with some strategy, give you some strategy to move forward, even when you're in leadership. Because in my mind, building your career is a personal experience, and once you're in that cycle, you're always thinking about it, and we'll get to that. So thank you so much for giving me a quick insight of where you're at in terms of your career. So in the original story of this particular talk is pretty interesting. Um, I actually have been curating this talk since 2019, before the pandemic. I know that we often say, before and after the pandemic, because it's such a huge event in our life. Um, but I do want to say that during that time is when I started to pivot into different career and start self-reflecting what I'm doing in my career. So in 2019, I decided to pivot as a developer into an educator. As part of that pivot, becoming an educator, I actually noticed that I am a pretty good community leader in terms of building communities, giving resources, creating conversations around helping each other. So that's when I find myself curating this talk. I really want to create a talk that inspires all of you and many more to self-reflect on your career and how you're taking actions purposefully every day in terms of moving forward. I understand we're working in a very tough economic time right now, and these strategic moves will help you build up your career in a sense, in a short term and long term. So I personally went through different tech industry, tried out different size of teams, company. I have really just unexpected twists and turns from startups to enterprise and back to startups. This like this back and forth, trying to find the best thing that I like, trying to find the things that I want to do. And I think part of that really helps me find the importance of my own adaptability and embracing new challenges. Um, I I sort of want to illustrate what it can be in terms of this theme of redefine possible as well. So this sort of aligns really well with like how you as you work through the process, your career process progress. This is also part of redefining possible as well, and we'll talk about career pivoting in a minute as well as part of this talk. I love that. I love that. Um, Vishnami, sorry if I don't say your name right. Uh, it's before ChatGPT and after ChatGPT. That's amazing. That's a really great, great mark to put down as well. Awesome. So in today's talk, I want to delve into these 4 specific topics. I want to touch these challenges, the challenges that really makes us question these traditional notion of career progression in the tech industry, from breaking frameworks and then defining growth and embrace lifelong learning, as well as fulfilling success in your definition of success. And like I said, this roadmap will apply to all of you. Doesn't matter which level you're in your career. There will be bits and pieces of it, and probably some of you who are very experienced in the industry has a pretty good layout of what you do already. So I hope that this talk can add a little bit more tidbits into your ways of work. So breaking from frameworks. We're so used to this like framework treadmill. Since the 2000s, we are seeing 10 to 30 language framework being created annually. Every year there's 10 to 30 frameworks being created. And that's a lot for developers to keep on track. It's our responsibility to make sure that we are up to date with the development trend. Is also our responsibility to bring in these new insights into our development team to advise for better solution, and better architecture, improvement in your existing work, so on and so forth. So this is more of like the grind that we're used to every day. This is like, as a developer, that's what you do. You show up at work, you solve problem, you learn the within the ecosystem that you build in, and you keep that grind up. You make sure that things are up to date. There's a few security issues that's happening with Next.js framework right now. My team just resolved it this morning. It happened yesterday, actually over the weekend. And then there's a few follow-up security that is being recovered right now. But things like this, like keeping up with the news, making sure that the framework that you use and securities is not being bridged, and just being part of that, not like learning, is really important. So the importance of breaking through this learning cycle and focusing on your technical skill set is something that we don't often think about, like breaking out of it, because When we show up at work, we're working. But if you're thinking about your career and what you can do to break out of the cycle, that's something that we don't think about very often. I want to give you some space to just like relax and think about what are some of the frameworks that you're familiar now, and can you count how many frameworks you've been working with since you've been in tech? At one point in my career, I actually picked up 10 different languages, various different framework with these languages. So being flexible with different frameworks is really good in terms of your like applying your technical knowledge in the space. So I'm just going to move forward. Maybe some of you are typing. Feel free to do so. I want to give you 3 tidbits of one-to-one meetings. So why one-to-one meetings? To break out of this framework treadmill, learning, like applying your skill set, learning new things every day, I want you to think about the last time you talked to your line manager about career growth. What's that like? Now, think about your one-to-one meetings with your line manager. What's that agenda like? So the definition of a one-to-one meeting is a regular discussion, progress discussion to talk about progress on goals, engagement, professional development, and more. So by definition, does your agenda actually aligns with this particular definition? If it isn't, I'm encouraging you tomorrow or after this talk, change that. Add agendas to your one-to-one meetings with your line manager, with your boss, however you address them. Or if you don't even have any regular meetings with your line manager, I encourage you to set one up bi-weekly, monthly. It can be 30 minutes, it can be 45 minutes, but talk about yourself. So the first thing you want to do in these one-to-one meetings is that really use the definition, right? You don't want to talk about work. You want to talk about career. You want to talk about you. It's a meeting for you, actually. It's actually a meeting for you. And I'm going to tell you why. Your manager wants to connect with you regularly. And yes, they're going to say, oh, Vanya, I don't have time. I'm so busy. But they do care about you as a developer in the team, as a contributor in the team. So it is important that you can be proactive because it is your career. So you can be proactive on setting up these regular meetings with your manager and then connect with them and let them know this is what I would like to do. So first of all, you need to set up these regular meetings with your line manager, and you need to set up the agenda for these meetings. If your current line manager one-to-one meetings is on, oh, I did this, oh, we're working on this and I did this, so it's almost like a checklist, get rid of it. Talk about you. You should be talking about what you want to talk about. It shouldn't be like, oh, did you do this? Yes. Did you do this? Yes. It shouldn't be a checklist. It should be about you. Whether it is my dog is growing so fast, or I have this plant is, dying. I can't think of a better way to keep it alive. Or I'm working on this plan to travel Switzerland just for you. And then you can also focus on, like, while you're sharing yourself, creating a relationship with your line manager, they get to know you more, and they also get to know your aspiration. One thing about these one-on-one meetings is about progression. Over time, your relationship builds up one on top of the other. You get to know each other better through casual conversation. And at the same time, you still need to make sure that once in a while or all the time, you bring up your career goals, right? If you don't have a framework at work to talk about, 6 months, 6 months assessments or annual assessments, end of the year assessment, if there is no structure like that, make one. Make one for yourself. Make one for yourself, and let your manager knows that these are the goals that I'm working towards too. I want to become a better JavaScript developer, and these are some of the courses that I want to make sure I accomplish by the end of 6 months, because they will apply directly to what we're working on right now. And sometimes you can ask for course tuition coverage as well. So that's one part about talking about your career progression within these one-to-one meetings. The second point here on the slide is talking about utilizing the knowledge of your line manager to help you grow. Your line manager may or may not be older than you or wiser than you, but the reason why they're in a line management role is because they have something to offer in leadership, in management, in business insight, more than you know. So utilize their knowledge to help you grow in terms of create the space for curiosity. Let them know, like, I'm wondering how your day-to-day work look like when it comes to end of the month reports. That's a really good question. That's a really good question for any line manager. And for those of you who raise your hand that you're currently in a leadership role, these one-on-one meetings are so meaningful as line manager, because you build relationship with your direct report, and at the same time, you also will have the insights of what it is that they want to work with, what it is that keeps them motivated every day, whether it is the checks that comes into their hands, or the technology, or the problem that they're solving. I like the latter. It's easier to keep people motivated when it's the latter, because that's the work that they're doing is interesting. The third point on this slide is to ask for feedback. We take feedback for granted, or we actually don't do it enough. I have this regular practice with my team, that I constantly ask for feedback, even if it's like the smallest like inkling that I misunderstand, or there's any little opportunity for me to feel indifferent with my feelings, I will ask. And sometimes if we're coming out of a meeting, I will also ask for feedback. How did you feel about that meeting that we just have? Do you feel like you are getting all the information that you need? That's a quick feedback. And then as someone who's asking for feedback of a manager, this question that I've shared here, how may I help you to do your work better, is one of the things that manager doesn't get asked enough. Because at the end of the day, managers are people as well. So it's a two-way stream, right? The success of you defines the success of them. So it's a two-way stream. These one-to-one meetings are so important in the sense that it also gives you that feedback loop as well. So if you can ask for feedback, constructive feedback within the work that you do, and can constantly be building on those like feedback, that's like a great way to grow in your career. I'm open for questions. If you have any, feel free to comment in the chat. I will pick them up as we go. Yes, Vanya?
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for these compelling insights. I'm just asking you from your experience if managers they will they can or they will want to share their feedback with you with a as a frequent basis. Thank you.
Are you asking if you're like as a manager, this is what we want? Like a
If
constant feedback?
the manager is willing to give you this frequent feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we don't get enough feedback. Like
Sounds
there,
good.
yeah, like we don't get enough feedback. And I say we as in managers don't get enough feedback because there's this like traditional hierarchy happening and it still exists. Even if you are working with a flat structured company, oh, they say, oh, we don't have any levels here. There is no hierarchy. Everyone's the same. Great, fantastic. But if you're being managed by somebody, there's a team lead, there's a tech lead, there's some sort of manager who's overseeing the entire team. There is a power dynamic. So when that happens, feedbacks are quiet. Feedback don't usually happen. So if my direct reports are not asking for feedback, I will ask them proactively. So I would challenge you and encourage you in your one-on-one meetings with your manager, ask for feedback and give them feedback too. Like, hey, I found that, this meeting that I was just in now for 90 minutes, I didn't say a word because this and this and this and this. We
Sounds
need
good.
we need to,
Thank you.
yeah, those are very important. um, we have a question from Nafisa. How frequent should these meetings be? What questions should we ask when we're asking for feedback? Really good question. So the frequency of your one-on-one meetings can vary. Like I said, it could be every 2 weeks, it could be every month, it could be quarterly. Personally, if you're working in a high-paced team, you should be connecting with your line manager at least once a month. Personally, that's how I feel. Um, if you don't, that's also okay. I just want to make sure that you are getting your problems addressed, right? Because if you're working in Scrum or Agile, there are a lot of retrospective happens. Who is solving those problems? Are like who is improving the life cycle of a development, right? So I'll let you decide what's best frequency for you. And in these frequency, the length of the meeting also matters. It could be a quick 30 minutes, or it could be 45 an hour long meeting. What questions should you ask when you're asking for feedback? I I am a very blunt person, so I ask them straight on. Do you have any feedback for me? Then there's no second guessing. You don't give them room for second guessing. So it's okay to ask head on, like, I've been trying to do, or you could say, I'm working on this. I'm I'm seeking for improvement. Do you have any feedback in terms of my performance? So that's also that's more of like a progression feedback. But if it is more generic, like open open door feedback, I would say I would just ask them straight on, do you have any feedback? Are you noticing something that I could, and then so bring it back to this question that I have on the slide. How may I help you to do your work better? Is there anything that I could do better for you? Is there anything that I could do better to make your work easier? Oh, I noticed that you're working on the quarterly report. And I also noticed that our release this month is delayed. Is there anything that I could do to help you make sure that we deliver um, what is in our quarterly goal? Because then you're countering the question to ask your line manager what it is that can I do? What can I do to make your life easier? So we're going to move forward here. The next point that I want to touch on is the progression in your career. Now, everyone here is different, as you can see in the beginning. We have people in different levels of their career. There are people in the leadership. There are people who just getting into industry, and your career goal is going to be different at these different stages of your career. Now, it is okay to try to figure it out as you go. And I would say the same when you're just fresh out of high school and you're not sure what to do in your life. It's okay, because life is all about discovering, right? So I'm going to say it's the same with your career, and I too myself experienced that same um, journey in terms of finding the right thing for myself, because it could be one like when I was a software developer, I wanted to become a manager. That was like my north star. And then when I sort of have challenges growing into a senior role, I decided I want to focus on something else. I actually pivoted. I wanted to be like a solution engineer, because it was advised to me that, oh, Sherry, you're really good at talking to customers. Have you ever thought about solution engineering? I'm like, sure, I'm going to give that a thought. So that sort of pivot, that sort of like changes my ideas of like what I want to be, or what's the next step in terms of what I should be looking for my career progression. And it can go up and down, right? It could be like you start as a front-end engineer and you decided, actually, I'm very interested in back-end engineering. And then all of a sudden, something about DevOps caught your eyes, and you're like, I love cloud infrastructure. I'm gonna move into DevOps. Um, it could be that could be career progression. It perhaps is horizontally. That's okay. It doesn't have to be moving up. Moving up doesn't mean progression. Moving along is progression. Moving towards something that you are interested in is progression. Um, but there is a consequence if you don't actually have a vision for your career. That is going to make you spin in that um, framework treadmill for a long time, because then for you, you're just grinding every day. You actually don't look forward to anything, and that's really hard for the manager and also for you, because it is difficult for the manager to keep you motivated every day. So I'm going to ask you a question about your current title. If you currently own a title, what does this title mean to you? And do you feel like you own this title? Are you proud to say, hello, I'm Sherry Yang, and I'm the engineering manager for venue.sh? You'd be surprised. I've met people who are like, I guess, I guess I'm the senior engineer. I guess I'm the staff engineer. I hear those, I guess, because they're not quite sure where they fit. And when people make that sort of introduction, it's because they are in this unknown, in this wheel of like, just not quite sure if they fit or if they deserve this title, or if they are the work that they want to do actually applies to their title. So an introduction of your own title actually tells a lot about you and your work. So I want you to brainstorm this progress in terms of just knowing the fact that, progression uh, is moving forward closer to what it is that you want to be. So first of all, let's think about, is the work I'm doing exciting and challenging? You don't have to share that publicly. I just want you to think about it. So self-reflection, right? Think about how you show up every day to work. Is it exciting and challenging? And it has to be a combo. If the answer is yes, then we move to the second question. Great. Now, what does 1, 3, 5 years looks like in the work, in my work and life? Now, many of you probably identified as women, so there could be personal goals that you want to hit. I want to get married, I want to become a mother, or I want to make sure that my kid goes to college, or I want to make sure that I excel in this sport, or I want to make sure that I am hitting this goal, physical goal, in terms of health. There's so many things that will affect your work because of your life. And that's why we talk about work-life balance a lot, right? So what does this, currently you're working on exciting and challenging work. Amazing. Now, what does this look like if you look into, 1 year from today? What does my life look like, and what would be my work look like? What about 3 years? What about 5 years? You should have a vision for those. And I would write it down, and I would actually put it somewhere so that I can revisit from time to time. I know that there are also people who likes building a mind collage, or like a vision board, right? You have to manifest the ideas. You have to manifest these like goals, things that you want to reach for, so that you can see it happening in front of you. I often also say a role model is really important in the industry, because without having the right role model for you, you don't know what's your North Star. So having diversity in role model for young children that is looking up to is really important. Not everyone wants to be and don't look like Bill Gates. So in terms of having a diversity of role models in the space is really important, because you actually have someone you could say, in 5 years of time, I want to be like so and so, because they are working on similar projects and similar titles that I want to work towards too. That's huge, right? So the third part of this brainstorming process for your career progress is now dream. In a perfect world, describe your dream job. And you might wonder, Sherry, I thought these has to be like feasible goals. Like, this should be something that we can work on right now. A dream job is something that you can work on as well. Because without taking actions towards your dream, it's only a dream. So as your career progresses, you are actually getting closer and closer to your dream job. Obviously, we don't live in a perfect world, but I want you to be creative and really push away any boundaries that you could ever have, and just think about that, and have it written down, or have it in your mind that this is something I want to become one day. So as you manifest, as you come into this brainstorm, and by now you probably have a full whiteboard of things and ideas and perhaps drawings of pictures of what it is that you want to become and what it is that you want to work on. Um, I encourage you to communicate this with your manager. Again, going back to your one-on-one, I encourage you, you don't have to, but I do encourage you to share some of your vision with your line manager, because you might be working for the same company for 2 years, 5 years, if you're working in a really good company with a lot of growth, or beyond, right? If that's the case, this is the company and this is the manager that is going to help you towards your dream job. So it doesn't hurt to share these like big ideas and visions with your line manager. Again, if you have questions or feedback or comments, please share in the chat. And if you're brainstorming your ideas and having your hands are busy writing down your process, that's amazing. I love it that you're working. Or raise your hand. Yes. Okay. Now, I've been talking and talking and talking about, thinking about these progress and uh, these things that could help you move forward. This is all because of growth mindset. Oh, hello.
Hi, Mary. Do you have a question?
Oh, that's okay. Mary, if you have a question, let us know. Um, Sorry, to come back to the growth mindset. So the process of getting here is this like this idea of growth mindset. So a growth mindset was popularized by a psychologist, Carol Dweck. Um, it is a belief that one's ability can grow and develop through dedication and hard work and perseverance, compared to a fixed mindset, whereas someone feels like I've hit the ceiling and this is it. This is all I can give to this world and cannot face changes, and is, I guess, satisfied with that. I do want to share a surprise to you all. All of you here today working in tech, you're very likely possessed a growth mindset, because we are all problem solvers. We are, and through the grind of frameworks and languages that we expose ourselves to every day and working towards the technology trend, we're learning. We're learning every day. The process of development is develop, review, and then recycle, right? So that process is helping us to learn through failure and improve ourselves. We also work with a team. Very likely you work with a team. And within teamwork, you help each other, you share resources. And that is part of growth mindset. So you already possess this really good mindset in terms of moving forward in your career growth. So the key part of Carol's growth mindset is these 5 categories. When you are facing challenges, if you're someone with a growth mindset, you embrace and you welcome challenges. You are likely going to say, yeah, not a problem. We will face dead on with this challenge. That's okay. And when obstacle comes, you persist in face of the setbacks. And most of the time, we do that. Like I said, as developers, we face that all the time, right? There sometimes we're being stuck at a specific snag, and probably ChatGPT is helping us a lot lately, or your co-pilot that is co-assist is pushing these like development process much easier. But again, they're tools. You still need to have the intention to solve these problems, right? So um, you sort of move through this process along with tools and resources and so on and so forth to solve your problem. We have a comment here. I had to come out of survival mindset to move to growth mindset when I became a parent during pandemic and world travel shut down. Absolutely. So it's very interesting that there's two mindsets here. You have a survival mindset and you have a growth mindset. How can I break through? I think that's amazing. Awesome. So a part of another category of this growth mindset is effort. Sometimes there are just, how to get to the end of the problem. You know how to solve the problem. It's just that it takes a long time or it's hard. But you're not backing down away from it. You see the effort as a path to mastery. You embrace that effort to move forward. And then when I think this part of criticism is really good in terms of the growth mindset. It's that criticism is not a negative for you. Criticism is actually an opportunity to learn and improve. So if you are in the one-on-one chat with your line manager or the other way around with your direct report and you got feedback, that for me is like a gift from heaven. Because I possess a growth mindset, and I want people to tell me what I'm doing, what I can be better at, because I know that I'm not a perfect human being, and sometimes I don't get feedback. I say sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, you're doing really great, and utilize this opportunity to say to give kudos to each other, right? I really enjoy when you do this with the team, or I really enjoy when you solve the problem this way. I really enjoy. I think it's fantastic that you can highlight these specific technical challenges that we have in the team, and then break it down into small pieces. Whatever it is, use this feedback. It can be positive and it can be constructive, but these are all really good criticisms. And also at the same time, an opportunity for you to improve. All right. Success of others. So when you have the growth mindset, the success of others does not bother you. You actually see it as an inspiration. You see it as an encouragement. You don't compete. You actually want, you thrive to become them. It's not about competition here. Success of others for you with a growth mindset is actually, wow, I want to be like that one day. And that is a really important mindset to have. We're not here to compete with each other. And if you think about you and your colleague, you're working in the same team together. You're working towards the same goal. If you have the slight sense of trying to compete with them, that means you're in conflict of what it is that you're reaching for. So instead of having that edge of like, oh, I want to be better than them, think about how you like the work together is pushing you towards same goal, better outcome, so on and so forth. Last but not least, towards the end of this talk, and I hope that you're finding a lot of help and taking notes around how you're dealing with your own personal experience. Because, like I said, this is about you. This talk is for you, and this talk should hopefully inspires you to take action. Um, so let's talk about the definition of success. Once we are in a very comfortable space, right? We're doing what we're doing. We have a roadmap. We're good to go. What about being enough, right? Fulfill your success. How how does how does that look like? So the way I see it is that just like any code challenges that you may have, you break it down into bite sizes, and then you focus on the lowest hanging fruit, and as part of a big problem, and then you work towards it, and then you rinse and cycle. Now the definition of success is very scary. Once you work towards it, you you also need to make sure you celebrate every single moment, and that's when talking about your accomplishment really helps. You can talk about it to yourself, like write it down. Sherry, you did this today. Good for you. You deliver a talk virtually on March 25th, um, and you inspire some people. Great job. Like that is like more self accomplishment, self reflecting. But if you can share with your closest for circles and share with your work, like your manager, share with like the wider organization, or share with the world, that gives you this like confidence to move forward into the next step. Because become successful seems very challenging, and depending on your definition of success, it can be very, very hard. But don't worry, one step at a time, you're moving towards what it is that you're looking forward to. We have a question here. Any tips on how to manage internal saboteur? I struggle a lot with my inner criticism. Yes. Yeah. So I hate to bring this phrase up, but I will. Imposter syndrome, like self doubt. I'm not good enough. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. Um, it's 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 a challenge. It's a challenge that we fight with ourselves. Um, the tips that I do, in terms of some tips that I can give you, is actually in terms of like being able to physically write down the facts. So write down the facts, or type, if you're a typer, type down some of the things that you do. So today, like this talk that I deliver, I'll write it down in my notebook and say, Sherry, like I did this, and this is how I feel, and this is the outcome. And I do follow up. I usually follow up with the community that I deliver talks to. Let me know more if there's feedback. Let me know more what was the response of to my talk. Like did I do a good job? And if I can reach back to Venya after this week of event, and she tells me, Sherry, you did fantastic, that gives me an assurance of the work that I've done. So it's really good. It's really good to have, like, yes, you're your worst enemy, and oftentimes that is like our inner demon, to be like your devil's advocate, and then trying to say, you're not good enough. But at the same time, if you can list down all the facts that you've been doing along the way, um, that these little bits of accomplishment will say something about you when you revisit them, and it will give you a little bit more confidence as you move along. And I would say that is probably my tip of moving forward. Because I have to tell you, there are dark times. There were, and there will be many more. but that doesn't keep me from keep going, because the dark time, again, if you turn it into more of like a learning experience, these dark time will allow me to say, okay, yes, maybe we're not as smart as this other person in the team, but we can pick up a few courses, or we can spend a little bit more time reading on this specific subject, and expose ourselves into new material to move forward to. So lots of things that you can do there. um,
Would you mind to repeat your last part? Sorry, there was like a problem with your sound.
oh, sorry. um,
No worries.
I was saying about, ooh, sorry, it was in the moment. I was talking about how keeping your accomplishment as like a journal style, keep these facts down so that you can revisit, because once you revisit them, you can see how far you've become. And then, sorry, I keep on going back to the feedback cycle with your line manager, sometimes with your friends, sometimes with your colleagues. If you have these like very open feedback cycle, you also hear how well you've been doing along the way. So self-doubt happens, imposter syndrome does kick in, but at the same time, if you have other people who's reassuring you on the work that you're doing, and you're constantly seeking for them, or not constantly, consistently seeking for them, um, you're going to build a certain confidence towards that, yourself, and knowing that, okay, today I'm doing the right thing, today I'm moving forward in the right way. Like that's part of success. And like sometimes I want to cheat and say, as long as I'm moving the right way, I want to celebrate it. And that's okay. I think that's worth a celebration, right? Like I every because when you're working towards a goal, it seems very monumental at times. Um, Even if you exercise the smart method, being concise and manageable and measurable, and so on and so forth, like being like following the SMART goal rules, um, it can still be hard because you usually give yourself a deadline, and push comes to shove, it's hard, right? So I would say celebrate the little moments, and making sure that as long as you're moving towards the outcomes of your goal, that's where you want to be. And I think that is going to give you that leg up. And sometimes if you need to ask for yourself or your manager extension of your goal, that's also okay, right? Because this is your career, you should be the master of it. Nobody is going to control how your career grows. And if you're slower, that's okay. If you need more time, that's okay. If life happens and you need to take a time off, that's also okay. You're still moving towards the success that you imagine. It's just that sometimes you have to take a detour. Life happens. Oh, that's a really good question. Any tips on working with procrastination? Actually, I'm gonna move to the next slide for questions, because now we're open questions, so that's great. Any tips on working with procrastination? Uh, this is something that I'm really bad at. I thrive in procrastination. Um, I would say if you have the problem with procrastination, find an accountability buddy. You'd be surprised, Vanya. I procrastinate really badly. But I would say, like Nafisa, if you can, if you have a best friend, or anyone that you can see fit as your accountability buddy, call them up and say, hey, I want to hit this goal, and I'm serious about this, and could you be my accountability buddy and checking on me from time to time? This could be your line manager for a professional goal. This could be your colleague. I know that some company encourages having best friend at work. You don't have to. Um, a friend at work. So sometimes your colleague could be your accountability buddy. Um, for my example, because I want to be stronger and be accomplished in a sport, I am asking my coach to be my accountability buddy. I want them to be accountable for the actions that I'm take towards the physical goal that I need to hit by a certain time. And having an accountability buddy is something that you need to deliver. And when you have someone that you need to deliver, um, that procrastination will go away. Any other questions? If you're still brainstorming this ideas and working on just implementing the things that I've said today, um, feel free to connect with me um, in my LinkedIn. Actually, this is a short link, venue.sh/Sherry. You'll be able to find me. Venue.sh is a DevOps platform that I'm currently working on and leading a team for. But yeah, you will be able to find my LinkedIn through this link. And if you are thinking about something or challenge or being challenged on a certain concept in terms of your career growth, let me know. I would love to have a chat with you. Obviously, going through this workshop is a little bit like tight knitted. It's not going to take one night to figure that out. It's actually going to take some time to sit down and really understand what it is that you want, what it is that you need. So take your time. Don't rush yourself to do it tonight. Use this as an inspiration point to make you think about it more often and take action with your manager and do take action towards your own goals in your career. Whenever I have to pay for a service, I become accountable. If something is free, I don't say yes, right? Like, yeah, exactly, right? If when you have to pay somebody, that's a financial accountability. So if you need to pay someone to do it, then sure. And even if it is your best friend and they say, you know what, Sherry, if you don't do this, every time I check in on you and you say, no, you haven't done it, you owe me a dinner. Oh man, I would be, I would be losing a lot of money if I have to pay dinner all the time, right? So, um, yeah, or you'll get money. Like maybe money is like too superficial, but let's talk about treat, right? So if you say like dinner, then that would be a really good accountability for you in terms of putting that some sort of stress. Um, Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that you stick around this late with me. Yes, I am based in Calgary. I will be in Edmonton next Monday, and I hope to see you there.
Yeah, give please a huge clap to Sherry for this insightful session. She's a truly industry pro. And if you have any question, this is your last call. Not every time you will have an opportunity to connect with Sherry.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure. Just before wrapping up, I just want to remind you about tomorrow's session. Sorry, it's just I'm still figuring out with the with the tabs. Yes, before we wrap up, I just want you to remind you about tomorrow's session with Kerti Bajaj about prompt engineering, exploring techniques and methods to enhance AI interactions. This workshop looks very promising, and I'm sure It will help you to develop your project for the hackathon. Don't miss it tomorrow, 3 p.m. in this platform. If you haven't RSVP, you can find it in this QR code. Well, I think it's all for now today, this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a really good rested evening. Bye bye.